Have you ever wondered why your emotions take over before you can even breathe? Have you ever promised yourself you would stay calm, yet reacted faster than your intention could speak? Have you ever felt controlled by your own mind, even when you knew better? My dear friends, if any of this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Many people feel this way, especially in the second half of life. We carry wisdom, yet the mind still surprises us. Why does this happen, and how do we free ourselves from these old patterns? Welcome back to Son.Mindfulness. I'm grateful you're here today. Please stay with me until the end of this video. What we explore together may change the way you see your mind, and perhaps the way you live your days. In our busy world, many people feel pulled by emotions they do not fully understand. They ask themselves silent questions at night. Why do I know the right thing, yet still react the old way? Why do small things shake me? Why do I feel tired from my own thoughts? These questions are deeply human. They are shared by millions, and the Buddha answered them long before our modern world was born. He showed us that the mind becomes clear when we learn to see it. He taught that freedom appears when we understand how reactions arise. This teaching is practical, gentle, and deeply healing. Today, we will walk through that teaching together. We will explore why the mind reacts so quickly. We will learn how awareness breaks the old cycle, and we will discover the simple practices that open the door to peace. These insights matter to you because they bring real calm into daily life. They help you respond instead of react. They help you breathe again in a world that pulls us in every direction. Here on Son.Mindfulness, our mission is to share wisdom that brings clarity and ease. This channel is a place for reflection, peace, and gentle understanding. If you value these teachings, please consider subscribing. Your support allows these messages to reach more people who need them. Thank you for being part of this mindful community. Before we begin, I want to wish you well. May you be healthy, may you be peaceful, may you be happy, may you be fortunate in all the ways that truly matter. Now let me ask you one last question. What happens when you finally understand your own mind? Stay with me, and together we will step into that answer. Part 1. The problem. The mind reacts automatically without us realizing it. My dear friends, let me invite you to sit with me for a moment as if we were sharing a quiet cup of tea on a calm afternoon. I want to open our time together with something very simple, something almost every one of us has lived through, especially those of us who've been around long enough to watch our own minds surprise us again and again. Have you ever told yourself, I'm not going to get angry today? Maybe it was on the way to work. Maybe right before a family gathering. Maybe you even said it with full sincerity. This time, I will stay calm. And then, someone cuts you off in traffic, or a comment lands the wrong way, or a plan goes sideways. And suddenly there it is. The tightening in the chest, the heat rising behind the face, the sharpness in the voice. It happens so fast that by the time you notice yourself reacting, the reaction has already taken over. If you're like most people, you might think, why did I do that? I knew better. I promised myself I wouldn't respond that way again. A woman once told me, "Sir, it feels like there's a part of me that wakes up faster than I can." And she was right. Something inside us reacts long before the so-called reasonable part shows up. You see, we often believe our reactions are conscious choices. We think, I'm the one deciding to be angry, or I'm the one getting upset. But if we look more closely, really honestly, we see that most reactions happen on their own, long before we have the chance to choose anything. Imagine this. Something happens. A sound, a word, a memory, maybe a small disappointment. Immediately, without your permission, a feeling appears. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. None of us chooses this first feeling. It simply comes. Then almost instantly the mind rushes to respond, I want more of this. I don't want this. This shouldn't be happening. Experience becomes feeling. Feeling becomes reaction. And reaction becomes suffering. Just like that. It's like watching a spark fall into dry grass. The fire begins before you can reach for water. And the strange thing is, because these reactions rise so quickly, we tend to assume this is just who I am. We mistake the reaction for our identity. We say, I have a short temper, or I'm just sensitive, or that's my personality. But is it really? Or is it simply a habit, an automatic pattern the mind has repeated so often that we've begun to call it me? The Buddha began the Dhammapada with a powerful truth. Mind comes first. Mind shapes everything. He wasn't speaking poetically. He was pointing out something profoundly practical. When we don't understand our mind becomes the one steering our life, and we don't even realize we've handed it the wheel. Think about it. If a child grabbed your steering wheel while you were driving, you'd instantly take it back. But when our mind, full of old habits, old wounds, old fears, takes the wheel, we often don't notice it at all. We just assume this is how things are. My friends, the problem isn't that the world makes us angry or stressed. The problem is that we don't yet see how quickly the mind reacts, how quietly it decides for us until after the moment has passed. This is why we suffer. Not because life is unkind, but because the mind is running on automatic while we believe we are in control. In this first part of our journey together, I want you to simply recognize this truth. Your mind reacts before you do. Your reactions arise long before your choices. And unless we understand this process deeply, the mind ends up leading our entire life, while we live under the illusion that we are the ones in charge. But take heart. Seeing this clearly is not discouraging. It is the beginning of wisdom. Because the moment you understand how your mind works, you begin to reclaim your life from the inside out. And that, my friends, is where freedom truly begins. When you're ready, we'll walk into part 2 together. Part 2, the inner mechanism, wanting, resisting, and not knowing. My dear friends, as we continue our conversation, I invite you to take one gentle breath with me. Just one. Because what we're about to explore is happening inside that breath, inside every moment of your day. So close, so immediate, that most of us miss it for an entire lifetime. In part 1, we looked at how quickly the mind reacts. Now in part 2, we step a little deeper. We begin to understand why it reacts that way. Inside each of us there are 3 forces quietly shaping the way we see the world. The Buddha named them very simply: wanting, resisting, and not knowing. Wanting what feels good, resisting what feels unpleasant, and not knowing this process is happening. Let me tell you a small story. A man once came to me and said, "Sir, I don't know why I'm always restless. Even when things are fine, I feel like something is missing." I smiled gently and said, "My friend, that feeling is older than you are. Because this sense of lacking, this whisper of not enough, has been echoing through the human mind since the beginning of time. If you listen closely, you might hear that same whisper inside yourself. I need a bit more. This should be different. Something is missing." It shows up when you change positions in your chair even though you were comfortable a moment ago. It shows up when you check your phone without really knowing why. It shows up when a small inconvenience feels strangely heavy. The mind is always reaching for something pleasant, pushing away something unpleasant, or drifting in a fog of not noticing what it's doing at all. And here is the remarkable thing. It does all of this before you have any chance to choose. Take a moment and look at your own experience. When a pleasant feeling comes, do you decide to like it, or does liking appear on its own? When discomfort arises, in the body, the mind, the heart, do you choose to resist it? Or does resistance appear instantly, like a reflex you never learned, but have always known. You and I were born into these patterns. They live in every human nervous system. Neuroscientists today will tell you that much of our emotional response is automatic. The brain fires reactions before the thinking mind even wakes up. The Buddha said the same thing in a different language 2,600 years ago. The tragedy is not that the mind wants or resists. The real tragedy is that we believe these reactions are me. We think, I chose to want that. I chose to be irritated. I decided to feel this way. But if we slow down enough, we see the truth. The reaction came first, and the sense of I arrived afterward, claiming ownership. Let me ask you gently, have you ever caught yourself in the middle of frustration and wondered, why am I even upset? Where did this come from? That moment of confusion is the mind waking up, realizing it didn't actually choose the reaction. It just inherited it. This is the invisible mechanism running our lives, wanting pulling us forward, resisting pushing us back, and not knowing keeping us trapped in the cycle. All of it happening in the span of a heartbeat. All of it shaping our decisions, our moods, our relationships, our sense of self, before we even realize something has happened. But my dear friends, seeing this clearly is not depressing. It is liberating. Because when you finally understand this mechanism, you begin to step outside of it. You begin to see that the mind's voice, the one whispering not enough, need more, must be different, is not the voice of wisdom. It is simply the old machinery of wanting and resisting doing what it has always done. And once you see the machine, you are no longer trapped inside it. You can observe it, you can breathe with it, you can choose differently. In the next part, we will explore why these forces feel so powerful, and how misunderstanding the nature of life itself keeps them alive. When you're ready, let us continue into part 3 together. Part 3. The 3 fundamental realities we do not see. My dear friends, welcome back. As we move into this third part of our journey, I invite you to settle your breath just a little. Let it come and go without effort. Because what we're about to explore sits at the very heart of why the mind reacts the way it does, and why suffering appears so often in our lives without invitation. There are 3 simple truths the Buddha pointed to. They are not religious beliefs. They are not philosophical theories. They are observations, direct, practical, undeniable, yet somehow almost invisible to us as we live our everyday lives. The first truth is impermanence, or anicca. Everything is changing, moment by moment. Your breath changes, your heartbeat changes, your thoughts come and go like clouds drifting across the sky. Even the people you love, the roles you hold, the strength of your body, all of them shift with time. But we don't usually live with this truth in our hearts. Instead, we cling to things as if they should remain exactly as they are. I hope this feeling stays. I don't want this moment to end. I want this relationship to never change. Yet everything is already changing, even as you wish it not to. And that gap between the way things are and the way we want them to be is where pain begins. The second truth is unsatisfactoriness, or dukkha. Not because life is bleak or hopeless, but because we keep trying to hold on to what cannot be held. Let me share a small example. A man once told me, "Sir, I just want my children to stay the same. I want my health to stay the same. I want my marriage to stay the same." I looked at him with compassion and asked, how could your life ever stay the same when every breath you take is already new? You see, suffering doesn't arise from change itself. It arises from our refusal to let change be change. From our clinging, our tightening, our insistence that life must follow our script. And when life does what life naturally does, shifting, moving, flowing, we feel threatened. But the problem was never life. The problem was the clinging. The third truth is the most subtle, not self or anatta. There is no solid, unchanging me inside this flow of experience. Look closely and you will find thoughts. You will find sensations, memories, emotions, opinions. But where is the I that owns them? The mind says, my anger, my sorrow, my joy. But when you look directly, what you see is simply anger arising, sorrow fading, joy appearing, thoughts coming and going, none of them lasting, none of them truly under your command. Many years ago, an elderly woman told me, "Sir, I feel like I've been many different people throughout my life." And she was right. We all have been. The child you were no longer exists. The person you were 10 years ago is not the person listening right now. Life has been living through you, shaping and reshaping you in each moment. Yet we keep clinging to the idea of a fixed self, a solid I that must be protected, defended, praised, validated. This illusion makes the mind react with fear, greed, and resistance. Because when I feels threatened, the whole world feels threatening. These three truths, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not self, are not meant to discourage you. They are meant to free you. Because when we don't see them clearly, we keep reacting from habit. We try to freeze the unfrozen. We try to stop the unstoppable. We try to control what was never under our control in the first place. And what happens then? We suffer. We resist. We get caught in anger, fear, disappointment, frustration, not because life is cruel, but because our expectations collide with reality. But when you begin to see these truths directly, when you really feel the truth of change, when you understand that clinging creates suffering, when you see that the self you defend is only a bundle of passing conditions, an extraordinary shift happens. Your reactions soften. Your mind slows down, you stop fighting life, and life stops feeling like an enemy. My dear friends, the purpose of these truths is simple: to help you wake up from the habits that have shaped you for decades. Because once you see clearly how things truly are, you no longer need to react blindly. You can meet life with understanding instead of fear, with wisdom instead of habit. In the next part, we will explore how these unnoticed truths give rise to the deep grooves, the conditioning that keeps our reactions repeating. When you're ready, let us walk into part 4 together. Part 4, the deep origin, dependent origination, and the grooves of the mind. My dear friends, welcome back. As we step into this fourth part of our journey, I invite you to imagine something very simple. A stream of water flowing over a smooth rock. At first, the water leaves no trace. But as the days pass, and then the months, and then the years, the water carves a small line. Give it a decade, a century, and that gentle stream will shape the entire surface of the stone. What began as a passing contact becomes a groove, a pathway the water will follow again and again, without effort, without choice. This is exactly how our minds work. Each reaction we repeat, each burst of anger, each wave of fear, each moment of craving, cuts a tiny groove inside us. And over time, those grooves become deeper and deeper, until one day we find ourselves reacting not just quickly, but compulsively, automatically, as if we have no other option. Have you ever wondered why the same situation keeps triggering you? Why one person's tone of voice can upset you even when you know they meant no harm? Why certain fears return even though life is peaceful now? It is because the mind is flowing through old grooves, grooves that were carved long before you became aware of them. One of my students once told me, "Sir, I don't want to feel anxious, but the moment something unexpected happens, it hits me before I can stop it." I gently said, "My friend, it's not hitting you. It's simply following a groove that has been there for years." The Buddha called these grooves sankhara, mental formations, conditioned patterns, the momentum of past reactions. They are not your fault. They are not a sign of weakness. They are simply the natural result of living, feeling, fearing, hoping, clinging over many decades. This brings us to one of the most profound teachings of the Buddha: dependent origination, or pakkasamapad. Ancient word, simple meaning: everything arises because something else allowed it to arise. Nothing stands alone. No reaction appears out of nowhere. Let's look at it through everyday life. A situation appears, a comment, a memory, a disappointment. That contact creates a feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. That feeling wakes up an old groove, craving, irritation, tightening. Then the groove pulls the mind into a reaction, a thought, a story, a habit, and that reaction reinforces the same old groove again. The loop completes itself and begins again. It is like a wheel turning. Condition, feeling, reaction, stronger conditioning, feeling, reaction, back to conditioning. Round and round. Sometimes for years, for an entire lifetime. Modern neuroscience tells us the same thing. Each time you respond in a certain way, with anger, fear, worry, desire, the brain strengthens that neural pathway. The mind becomes familiar with that route, comfortable with it, and eventually, that route becomes the default, even when it harms us. But my dear friends, the deepest issue is not that these grooves exist. The real issue is that we don't see them operating. We think, this is just who I am. This is how I react. This is my personality. But look closer and you'll see. The reaction is just water running through an old channel. It is not you. It is a pattern, a momentum, a habit. And here is something important. As long as these grooves remain unseen, they continue to control the flow of your life. You live by the past without realizing you are living the past. You suffer from reactions that were carved long ago. But the moment you begin to see the groove, to recognize it, to name it, to observe it, something incredible begins to shift. Because awareness is like light entering a dark room. It doesn't fight the darkness. It simply makes it impossible for the darkness to rule. We will speak about that awakening in the next part. But for now, I invite you to gently ask yourself, what grooves have I been living through? What reactions repeat themselves without my permission? What patterns feel so old that I thought they were me? This honest seeing is the beginning of freedom. When you're ready, let us walk into part 5 together. Part 5, where freedom begins, seeing the machine that once operated in the dark. My dear friends, welcome back. If you've journeyed with me through the first 4 parts, you've already taken a courageous step, the step of looking inward. Now in part 5, something truly transformative begins. This is the moment when insight becomes liberation. Not dramatic liberation, not fireworks or miracles, but the quiet, steady freedom that grows the moment you begin to see. Remember the grooves we spoke about? The patterns carved into the mind over years of reacting? Those grooves feel powerful, almost immovable, as long as they remain unseen. The mind's habits rule us most strongly when they operate in darkness, when we are unaware of their presence. But something remarkable happens the moment you shine a light on them. Let me share a simple story many of you may recognize. Imagine walking down a dim path at dusk. You see something long and curled near your feet. Your heart jumps, the body tenses, fear rises instantly, a snake. But then you turn on your flashlight and suddenly, it's just a rope. What happened to the fear? Did you train it away? Did you fight it? No. It dissolved the moment you saw clearly. Fear is powerful in the dark, but in the light it has nothing to hold on to. This is exactly how the mind works. Your anger is strongest when you don't see it forming. Your craving is strongest when it moves beneath your awareness. Your fear is strongest when it stirs in the shadows of the mind, just out of sight. But when mindfulness appears, even softly, even briefly, everything changes. The moment you can say, wanting is here, or irritation is rising, or there is anger in the mind right now, the grip of that reaction weakens. Not because you pushed it away, not because you replaced it with something positive, but because awareness interrupts the automatic loop. You are no longer inside the reaction, you are watching it, and the watcher cannot be controlled by what it observes. One of my students once told me, "Sir, when I started noticing my anger in the very moment it was forming, I realized the anger wasn't me anymore. It was just something happening." And that is the essence of liberation. You don't eliminate anger, craving, fear. You simply learn to see them, to name them gently, to recognize them without judgment. Science tells us the same. The moment you label an emotion, fear, sadness, desire, the amygdala calms. The reaction loses its full force. Awareness brings the thinking mind back online. The Buddha described this thousands of years before psychology existed. The machine of the mind, the loop of stimulus, feeling, reaction, depends entirely on your not noticing it. Its fuel is inattention. Its darkness is ignorance. But when awareness shines, even for 1 second, the machine stutters, it pauses, it softens. And in that pause, in that tiny gap, something new becomes possible. Choice, clarity, freedom. Let me ask you gently, have you ever caught yourself mid-anger and suddenly felt the fire weaken? Have you ever recognized craving as craving and felt it lose some of its pull? If so, you have already tasted the first sip of freedom. Freedom does not begin when the mind becomes perfect. Freedom begins when you see the mind clearly, even if it is messy, reactive, imperfect. Awareness doesn't demand perfection. It simply reveals truth. And in truth, the mind cannot control you, because the light of seeing destroys the illusion of a snake, leaving only a rope. What was frightening becomes harmless. What was overwhelming becomes workable. My dear friends, this is where liberation truly begins. Not in distant temples or long retreats, but in the very moment you notice, wanting is here, anger is here, fear is here. In the next part, we will explore the path that makes this clarity possible. The Buddha's direct way of looking into the body, the feelings, the mind, and the patterns themselves. When you're ready, let us continue into part 6 together. Part 6, The Path of Practice, the 4 Foundations of Mindfulness. My dear friends, welcome back. In this part of our journey, we shift from understanding to practice, from seeing the patterns of the mind to learning how to meet them with clarity, compassion, and presence. The Buddha called this path Satipatthana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. It is simple, but not always easy. Yet for more than 2,600 years, it has been the most direct doorway to inner freedom. Let us walk through it together, gently, like stepping stones across a quiet stream. 1. Mindfulness of the body. I often invite students to begin right here with something we always carry but rarely notice: the breath. Just feel it. Not controlling, not shaping, simply knowing. Breathing in, you know you're breathing in. Breathing out, you know you're breathing out. This may sound almost too simple, but it is profoundly grounding. Your body is not a solid, fixed thing. It is a river of sensations. Warmth, coolness, pressure, tingling, movement. Everything changes moment by moment. When you truly observe the body, you begin to see that it is not mine, not something you command. It is a flow, a process, a dance of sensations arising and fading. Try this sometime. As you walk, know you are walking. As you sit, know you are sitting. When your hand reaches for a cup, feel the movement without labeling it as "I am doing this." You may be surprised at how peaceful it feels to simply witness the body as it is. 2. Mindfulness of feeling tones. This is perhaps the most crucial link in breaking the automatic chain of suffering. Every moment of experience brings a feeling tone. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Not emotion, just feeling tone. It is the spark before the reaction. Pleasant arises, and the mind wants. Unpleasant arises, and the mind pushes away. Neutral arises, and the mind gets bored or restless. But what happens if, instead of running toward or away, you just know? You simply say, pleasant feeling is here, unpleasant feeling is here, neutral feeling is here. A student once told me, "Sir, when I started noticing the unpleasant feeling just as a feeling, for the first time I didn't react to it." And that is the heart of the matter. Mindfulness at this point breaks the entire cycle of automatic reactions. You see the ember before it becomes a fire. 3. Mindfulness of the mind. Now we step into the inner room. Here, we learn to recognize the state of the mind itself. Is it wanting? Is it irritated? Is it cloudy or restless? Is it peaceful? And instead of saying, "I am angry," you say, "Anger is present." Instead of saying, "I am sad," you say, "Sadness is here." This small shift is enormous. It is the shift from identification to observation, from being the storm to watching the storm. I remember an older gentleman telling me, when I stopped saying "I am anxious" and started saying "anxiety is here," it felt like the anxiety suddenly had less oxygen. Yes, because awareness loosens the grip of identification. You are no longer swallowed by the state of mind, you simply see it. 4. Mindfulness of mental patterns. Finally, we look at the deeper patterns that shape our reactions, the hindrances, craving, aversion, sleepiness, restlessness, and doubt. These are not enemies, they are conditions that visit the mind, like weather patterns. When craving is present, you simply know, craving is here. When aversion shows up, you know, aversion is here. When the mind is foggy or restless, you acknowledge it gently. A woman in her 60s once said to me, "Sir, once I learned to name my doubt as doubt, suddenly it felt like a visitor, not a truth." That is exactly it. When you see these hindrances clearly, they stop driving the car. They lose their authority. They lose their ability to dominate your choices. Mindfulness does not remove them, it removes their control over you. My dear friends, Satipatthana is not a doctrine. It is a way of living awake, a way of meeting life as it unfolds, moment by moment, without drowning in habit and fear. As you practice, you begin to see yourself more clearly, not as a fixed identity, but as a flow of sensations, feelings, states, and patterns. And in that seeing, something begins to soften, something begins to open. A quiet freedom emerges. In the next part, we will explore the fruits of this practice, the steady, unshakable freedom that comes when the mind is no longer controlled by the world around it. When you're ready, let us walk into part 7 together. Part 7. The fruit of the path. Freedom in the midst of life. My dear friends, welcome to the final part of our journey. If you followed these reflections from the beginning, something within you has already begun to shift. Gently, quietly, like the first light of dawn softening the darkness. In this 7th part, we speak of the natural result of this practice, a freedom that arises in the middle of life, not away from it. This freedom does not come from escaping the world, or removing all problems, or becoming perfect. It comes from discovering a space inside you, a small but profound gap between what happens and how you respond. Let me describe this space to you. Imagine someone says something sharp or hurtful. Before, your reaction would rise instantly, heat in the chest, tightening in the jaw, thoughts rushing in like waves. But now, with mindfulness, you begin to notice the moment the feeling appears. There is irritation, and you know it. There is hurt, and you know it. There is an urge to defend, and you know it. And in that knowing, something remarkable happens. You are no longer the reaction. You are the awareness surrounding it. That small space, even if it's only a second long, is freedom. A freedom that wasn't there before. A freedom that doesn't depend on who is right or wrong, what you gain or lose, or what circumstances throw at you. This space grows over time. Slowly, the mind begins to change. It becomes clearer, pabhasara, naturally bright, like a polished mirror. It becomes lighter. The heaviness of old reactions loosens its grip. It becomes more open, no longer squeezed by fear or clinging. One woman in her 70s once told me, "Sir, I still get upset sometimes, but it doesn't own me anymore. It passes through me like wind passing through an open window." What she described is the heart of this freedom. The Buddha spoke of the 8 worldly winds: gains and losses, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. Most people spend their lives being pushed, pulled, inflated, deflated by these winds. A compliment lifts them up. A criticism knocks them down. A success makes them proud. A mistake makes them ashamed. But when your mind becomes steady, none of these winds can shake you. You still feel them, of course. We are human, after all. But you no longer collapse under them. You no longer cling to praise or run from blame. You no longer feel defined by winning or losing. You remain grounded in something deeper than circumstance. The quiet clarity of awareness. This is not dramatic enlightenment. This is the everyday, lived freedom that mindfulness brings. One breath, one moment, one choice at a time. Let me ask you gently, have you ever noticed that even in the middle of chaos, if you take one conscious breath, the whole world feels a little more manageable? That is the seed of freedom. That single aware breath. And that's why the Buddha said, just knowing the breath going in, just knowing the breath going out, that is already freedom. Because in that moment of knowing, you're no longer pulled by old grooves, no longer trapped in automatic reactions. You are awake, present, steady, even if just for a heartbeat. My dear friends, this is the freedom available to you right here, right now. You don't have to become someone else. You don't have to wait for life to calm down. You simply return to the breath, the body, the feeling, the mind, and meet each moment with clear, gentle awareness. And as you do, you walk step by step from confusion to clarity, from reactivity to understanding, from being controlled to being free. This is the fruit of the path. This is what it means to live awake. When you breathe in, know you are breathing in. When you breathe out, know you are breathing out. And in that simple knowing, freedom is already here. My dear friends, as we come to the end of this journey together, I invite you to take one gentle breath. Let it rise. Let it fall. So much of our time today has been about noticing this simple truth. Everything arises, everything passes. And in that natural rhythm, a quiet freedom waits for us. We have walked through 7 parts of understanding. Each part reveals a step toward living with more clarity. Did you notice how your mind responded as you listened? Did certain insights feel familiar, like truths you once knew? This recognition is already a kind of awakening. We explored how the mind reacts before we choose. We saw the forces of wanting and resisting shaping our days. We learned how life becomes heavy when we forget impermanence. We saw how old patterns create grooves in the heart, and we found that simply seeing these forces weakens their power. Does that make sense when you look at your own life? Where did you recognize an old groove in yourself? Then we stepped onto the path of mindfulness, the body as flowing sensations, the feelings as gentle signals, the mind as a passing sky, the hindrances as visitors that come and go. All of this leads to something simple and beautiful, a space inside you, a place where you can breathe before reacting. Have you ever felt that small gap during your day? What happened when you allowed yourself that pause? This space is the beginning of freedom, not dramatic, not distant, but steady and real. It grows with practice. It grows with kindness. It grows every time you return to the breath. Isn't it comforting to know that freedom can begin right here? I want to take a moment to thank you. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for opening your heart to these teachings. Many people never slow down to look within, but you did. And that is something worth honoring. I hope these reflections brought you clarity. I hope they reminded you of your own inner strength. And I hope they helped you see your mind with a little more gentleness. What touched you most today? What insight will you carry into your week? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Before we close, I invite you to continue this practice in your daily life. Try noticing one breath each morning. Try recognizing one feeling before reacting. Try saying, anger is here, or worry is here, instead of, I am angry. These small steps can change the direction of your entire day. Will you try that this week? What might shift if you did? If you found value in this teaching, I warmly invite you to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps this community grow. Please like the video if it resonated with you, and share your reflections below. Your wisdom may help someone else. Thank you for spending this time with me. May you be healthy. May you be peaceful. May you be happy. May you be fortunate in all the ways that matter. And remember this simple truth. When you know the breath going in, and you know the breath going out, freedom has already begun. With gratitude, from Son.Mindfulness.